Hi, I'm Laura Hoptman, the Executive Director of the Drawing Center. This year, visiting the online version of Art Basel, I found remarkable works by Robert Breer, Yayoi Kusama, and Isa Genzken, three of my very favorite artists. My first find at GB Agency, a Parisian gallery, is a sequence of drawings by the great avant-garde film animator, Robert Breer. They use shape in a way that is very close to the way that people used figures. So in other words, the shapes become characters in his wonderful films. Breer is best known for his movies. What he's not well known for, which was an amazing find, was this. This is a painting from 1952 by Robert Breer. As you can see from this work, he might have been inspired by Arp and Mondrian, but he is certainly not an Arpist or a student of Mondrian. That special way of working with abstraction is here in this picture too. The shapes are not regular, and neither are the colors. And in that, the strangeness of the shapes and the singularity of the color, what you get is the personality of an abstract form. Each one of these forms, and there are 5 of them in this picture, look like they are actors on a field. This work, a 1965 gouache by the artist Yaya Kusama, is indeed also an old friend. It was a work that was featured in an exhibition that I did at the Museum of Modern Art with my colleague Lynn Zelavansky. It was the first retrospective of Kusama's work that began in 1957 and went to 1972. So it was a look at Kusama's early work. If we took off all these bright, beautiful poster paint colors, underneath we would probably have an early 1950s work on paper by Miss Kusama. But by the time she came to New York, she was able to buy, for example, fluorescent paints, and you can see a little bit of that fluorescent orange in this work. It's one of my favorite works on paper from her early period. It's marvelous to see it again. The last work that I want to talk about is from Gallery Buchholz. It's an early work, a very large monumental sculpture, but a horizontal one by the great German sculptor Isa Genskin. It is called hyperbolo. A hyperbolo is a mathematical term for a shape that is in essence 2 curves back to back. Genskin, whose milieu at the time really was the first and second generation minimalists and conceptual artists like Dan Graham, who was a good friend of hers. So it really surprised her when the German critics took one look at this work and called it a knitting needle or an oar, you know, the kind of thing you use to row a boat. It was a kind of a shock, but one that Genskin took to heart. And as her work developed over 50 years, she continued to do a sort of tightrope walk between abstraction and figuration. But here, with this elegant sculpture, is where all of that began. Thank you for watching. I hope you enjoyed Art Basel's online viewing rooms as much as I have, and I hope you found as many treasures as I did during my visit.